Welcome to FreeDive Live, episode number 28. My name is Ted Hardy. I'm the founder of Immersion Freediving as well as freedivingsafety.com. If you haven't visited freedivingsafety.com, you definitely should. It's a free course that goes over the risks of the sport, the truth about blackout. You'll learn the fatality numbers that are involved in the sport. You're going to get an explanation of how to tell if you're overweighted, right, which is unfortunately very common among many freedivers and spearfishermen. You'll get an idea of what is a lost mode control, what is a lost mode control, what is a blackout, what do they look like, what do you do if your buddy has one, right? So you learn how to save your buddy, right? So the idea is it's a free course that anyone can access. Basically, you're going to learn the information that you would learn if you were to take a freediving class with me, and anyone can access that, right? So there's a quiz in there as well. If you pass the quiz, you're going to get an email with discount codes from 9 of the sponsors of freedivingsafety.com. So learn to save yourself, learn to save your buddy, or save some money, but either reason, there's no reason not to visit freedivingsafety.com. My new mission is to teach more people about safe freediving than any person on the planet, and freedivingsafety.com is going to be the vehicle that is going to hopefully allow me to do that. So for those of you that are not familiar with the show, the way it works is I start off typically with the entertaining or educational story from my career. Secondly, I will pick one topic to discuss in depth, and then lastly, I will answer your questions live towards the end of the show. So for today, I'm going to be sharing the story of, actually it's not me, it has nothing to do with me, a past student of mine, Kevin. He is someone who occasionally I give some of my students, I sponsor them with freediving wetsuits, and so he got a new wetsuit, actually the only wetsuit out there that's the freediving, that has freedivingsafety.com logo on the front of it. It's really cool, right? And so he actually had a blackout rescue just recently, so I'll be sharing some of the details about that. The topic I'll be discussing in depth today will be hunting in teams. Very something I get a lot of questions about in my courses. You know, a lot of my customers are spearfishermen. They learn all the safety stuff in the program, and then like, well, but how do I make that work when I go out there, right? Like, how do I implement what I learned in your program? So I will be discussing that. So those of you that are watching now, in the comments, you just let me know if you've seen the show before, yes or no. And if you've seen it, yes, how many times have you seen it? I'm just curious if how many folks have been seeing the show before. All right, so the course, my most popular course, this always annoys me when I have to say this, is unfortunately it's not the freediving safety course. It's this course. I'll put it up right here. That you can get at online freedivingcourses.com. So you just go to that website right there, and you put in your name and email address, hit the get this now, and you're going to get a free course on how to take a 20 to 30% bigger breath, right? Why should you want to do that? Because if you want to increase your bottom time, which any freediver does, I don't care what you're doing underwater, you want more time down there, one of the simplest and fastest ways to get that improvement is to take a bigger breath, right? One of the first things I teach my students is to take a 20 to 30% bigger breath, right? If you take down more fuel, you're going to get more bottom time. It's no different than a car, right? If you put 20 to 30% more gas in a car, it's going to go 20 to 30% farther. So the idea is it's a free course, going to go over how to take a 20 to 30% bigger breath, and you can get it right there online, freedivingcourses.com. All right. Okay, so actually I have two different stories I was going to tell. Not sure actually which one I want to do. 20 plus. All right, so I'm going to change the story that I'm going to tell. Let's see. How am I going to do that? Yeah, so I have been teaching freediving for about 10 years, and I'm actually going to go back a little bit to explain the point of the story and how it ties into the topic we're discussing. So when I teach, so I'm an instructor trainer, so I can teach instructors, right? And so when I'm teaching the instructor program, one of the things I'm always trying to get into their head is that when a student makes a mistake, 70-80% of the time, it's your fault as the instructor, right? So when I go to the pool and my students make mistakes, most of the time, it's my fault, right? That's not 100% of the time, but I would say about 80%, right? It's something a mistake I made. Maybe, I didn't explain something clearly enough, and I know from 10 years of experience that maybe that thing that they messed up is because I know from experience I have to explain it to them like 3 or 4 times before they actually get it, right? If I only explain it twice, then they're not going to get it. They're going to mess it up. That's my fault. So some of the things I'm always trying to get across. When I first started teaching freediving, I found out that I was teaching how to be safe. Like, this is what you do: you run up and down, you watch each other, and then And I'm like, sweet. I taught them how to be safe, and I started finding out. I didn't like this at all. But I found out, so basically I ran into a past student, and and I'm like, oh, how's the spearfish minutes? Like, oh my God, it's amazing, right? I'm diving so much better. I stay down there so much longer, so much more effective as a hunter. I get more bottom time. I'm comfortable. It's awesome. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So, where do you go dive? He's like, oh, I go right off after work. I go by the shore. I can go out from shore. And I can get on the reef at like 30 feet and whack fish before I go home. I'm like, okay, who do you dive with? He's like, I just dive by myself. It's only like 30, 40 feet dead. But that's not what I said in class. I never said, but it's only 30, 40 feet that you can dive by yourself. And so I was really disappointed. But I can't control what my students do. I just said, okay, well, he's an idiot. And I just kind of chalked it off. I'm like, oh, well, I can't control what everyone does. And I told him to be safe, and he chose not to, so whatever. And then I kept running into situations like this, where I would find out, I'd ask my students what they're doing, and the information they're giving me is like, they're not diving safely, right? I got a lot of friends that are boat captains in the area, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw some of your guys on the boat, and I'm like, oh, they were diving one up, one down, close enough to grab. And he's like, well, what? No, they're over here, and he was over there. And I started getting so mad because I'm like, my guys aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I'm like, well, this one's an idiot, and this one's an idiot, and this one, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What did I say in the instructor program is when the students make mistakes, whose fault is it? It's my fault. They're not idiots. I didn't do the job, right? And so I learned that there's a difference. And I think this is where I think a lot of freediving instructors could do a better job. I don't doubt, I believe that every freediving instructor out there teaches them to be safe. I don't believe they're freediving instructors saying, oh, you don't have to watch your, you don't have to be in teams if you're only in 40 feet, or, it's actually, as long as you're, within 100 foot of the guy when they surface, that's fine. I don't believe any instructors say that, right? I like to believe that they're all going to say you need to be watching each other and that sort of stuff. But there's a difference in teaching someone to be safe, or teaching them the tools to be safe, and actually convincing them to implement that, right? You see, there's a big difference, right? If you take a freediving class and you get taught all this information about safety, and you learn how to do a blackout rescue, and you learn that you're supposed to be diving in teams one up, one down, and then you go out freediving and spearfishing and you don't do any of that, then really all that safety knowledge you have in your head is pointless, right? So you have to, I realized that I was not convincing my students to implement what I taught. I taught them what to do, they just didn't want to. And so that's when I restructured the way I did the entire safety program. Instead of doing it in like 30, 40 minutes, like now it's like a 2.5 hour deal, and now it's a sales pitch. And in essence, that's what I'm going to tie into on the main topic is, I now understand. I find it very frustrating that this is the case. I just know after 10 years it's true. People don't care about not killing themselves. They just don't. They're just like, whatever. I'm going to be fine. I don't push myself onto my limits and all this other nonsense. So teaching them how to not kill themselves isn't enough to make them to do that, right? I know that's crazy, but I know it's true. So now what I do when I go to the safety point is I say, all right, now I'm going to show you how hunting in teams is going to put more fish in the cooler. Right? It's going to put more fish in the cooler, and you get this little insignificant little bonus of not dying, but don't worry about that. Don't focus on that, because I know you don't care about that. Let's talk about how we're going to put more fish in the cooler. And then I go through these reasons of how hunting in teams actually makes you more productive as a hunter. And then they're like, oh, okay, maybe I will give that safety stuff a try, right? Because I've convinced them that it's in their interest, right? Because I know I'm trying to speak to them in a language that's gonna change their mind. Absolutely, CJ. So yeah, so that basically, I changed how I taught the course because I saw that I wasn't doing my job, right? My students were not doing what I wanted them to, and originally I said that was they're idiots, and then I realized that well, they're idiots. It was my fault. I wasn't doing a good enough job to convince them, and now, like I see the CJ, right? So CJ's owner of Neurotic Pole Spear, he's in the chat, right? And I'm gonna be showing a video of him later on. But he took the course with me. I don't know how many years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago. And I convinced him to dive safely, and I explained to him why it was in his interest. He's now does so. He's actually saved. I at least know of one person he saved from a blackout from taking the program, and now I see him out, promoting safe freediving and getting spearfishing on board. So it's awesome. So the changes that I made in the program worked. All right, so now we're going to get into the three ways that why hunting in teams will actually put more fish in the cooler, which is, if that's not the point of spearfishing, I'm not sure what it is. All right, so before we get into that, I'm going to show you my newest program. So the newest program I have is what's called Breath Hold Secrets. Right, so if you've ever talked to anyone who's taken a freediving class, they probably have annoyingly said something along the lines of, oh my gosh, I can't believe how long I held my breath. I held my breath for, a minute longer, 2 minutes longer. I doubled my personal best, or, whatever it is. I held my breath for 2 minutes, 4 minutes. They're going to go on and on about how long they held their breath for. Because in a freediving class, you're going to learn the biggest secret to breath holding. And there's definitely one secret to breath holding. And the secret to breath holding is, it's not what you do during the breath hold. Like, people think there must be something. No, it's what you do before the breath hold. As long as you do leading up to the breath hold correctly, that's the secret, right? Is what you do beforehand. And then holding your breath is quite easy. Holding your breath for a long time is as simple as shutting your mouth and quit breathing. That's it, right? If you do the prep right. So that's what you're going to learn in my breath hold secret program. And it's only $39. Again, you can go there and I'll show you. Right, so not only do you get access to Breath Hold Secrets, right, you're going to get a bunch of other stuff. So you're going to get access to the Breath Holding Secrets program. You're going to get access to the freediving safety. In fact, you're going to have to go through the freediving safety and pass the quiz and get 100% before you can access the cool stuff. You're going to get TED Talks Freediving Greatest Hits. So that's my old show that I did on Instagram. So I've got 20 hours of that, and you probably don't want to listen to me talk for 20 hours. You'd learn a lot of stuff if you did, but you probably don't want to do that. So I paid a freediving instructor to watch all the 20 hours, and I had him edit out the best hour of the 20 hours. So you're going to get that, the greatest hits. You're going to get access to, this is a video I did for Spearfishing Magazine on how to activate your mammalian dive reflex. This is something that a lot of freedivers and spearfishers don't truly understand. So this is how, just a really good explanation of what the dive reflex is and how to make it work for you instead of against you. And then I've got an interview with Ashley Futrall, a good friend of mine. She's a 3-time world record holder. And so you can access that, right? So you get all that stuff, and it's $39, right? So I'll put the link up to it, and you can also once the show is done, I'll put the links to everything, but you can also access it right there on freedivingcourses.com. All right, so let's get into how to hunt in teams, why you should, and how it works. All right. So when it comes to hunting in teams, there used to be a lot of people. Also, this. Let me know in the comments where you guys are from. If you've taken a freediving course, yes or no. And when I'm done with this explanation, I'm going to be answering questions. I already have someone who submitted a question online, so I'll be going over that. But if you guys have questions for me, put them in the comments. And when I'm done with everything, this explanation, I'll go through and I will try to answer those, right? So put those comments in there. Excuse me, put the questions in the comments and I'll answer them at the end. All right, so hunting in teams. So when I first, started teaching freediving a long time ago, and I would talk about hunting in teams, I would get all these, you can't hunt in teams, it doesn't work, your buddy will scare the fish, and all this other stuff. Because typically what happens is, two guys get in the water, right, and the one guy's like, all right, I know this area right here, this is where all the big fish are. You go way the hell over there where all the tiny fish are because I want to shoot all the big fish, and they go away, right? Because as soon as, it's very often when spearfish get in the water, it's game on, competition. I'm going to shoot a bigger fish than you. I'm going to shoot more fish than you, right? And it's that competitive aspect of the sport which leads to that, breeds that kind of what I call anti-safety mentality when no one's watching anyone because they're all trying to outshoot each other, right? So here's something that any spear fisherman can relate to and has happened to. You make a drop. Okay, you line up on a fish, take a shot, and you don't get a holding shot and it tears off, right? So let's say you're by yourself. When I say you're by yourself, I don't mean like you're on the boat and you went out to the dive spot by yourself, but I mean there's 2 or 3 other people in the water, but one's over there and one's over here, and like no one's paying really any attention, right? So that's what I mean when I say by yourself. There are people in the area, but no one's really watching you. Okay, so you make a bad shot, right? Tears off, and now you're in essence by yourself. So here's what you're kind of forced to do. You're gonna go up to the surface, and you know you need to get a second shaft in that fish as quickly as possible because number one, it may leave the area and you may lose it, or secondly, a shark's going to get it, right? So you're motivated to get back down there as fast as possible to put a second shaft in the fish. Now, if you're by yourself, what you're forced to do is you're going to try to get down there as fast as possible. And because you're trying to get down as fast as possible, you're going to start breathing like this, which is hyperventilation. That is a style of breathing that will increase your risk of blacking out. So because you're in a rushed manner, you are more than likely going to be forcing yourself to hyperventilate. Even if you know you shouldn't, you're like, but I gotta get down there really fast, right? So you're gonna be doing this hyperventilation, which increases your risk for blackout, okay? Now you're gonna go back down there and you're gonna try to put a second shaft in the fish, right? And maybe you do, maybe you don't, okay? Now imagine this scenario. Imagine you put a shot on the fish, it tears off. And now you're in a 3-person buddy team. So when you hit the surface, there's someone watching you, and that third guy can peel off and go put a second shaft in that fish, right? So here's the question. That guy, he's already breathed up. He can go immediately. As soon as he sees what happened, he's already going down on the fish. So what is more likely to put the fish in the cooler? If you're by yourself, you hit the surface, you got to hyperventilate and try to go do that dive, which is going to be absolutely reduced time because you just dove and you're rushing yourself. So which is more likely the fish ends up in the cooler? If you're by yourself, or if when you hit the surface, there's someone fresh who is right there and who saw what happened? Never had a student answer that question anything other than, well, scenario 2 is more likely that the fish is going to get in the cooler. Absolutely it will, right? Because that person's rested, right? So Jeremy, a good friend of mine, owner of Spearing Magazine, he's taken the course twice with me. He implemented all of this stuff, the safe freediving, spearfishing after the course. And what I like what he does is he really likes hunting in 3-person teams, which is really, that's where it's at. You get so many advantages. I mean, 2 is great. If you got to at least be, to not die, you got to be in a team of 2. But if you really want to make it work, you want a team of 3. And so what he does is when he's coming up from a dive, he just goes like that. He just puts 2 out, and that means that guy on the surface means that he needs a second shaft. And so that guy peels off and goes down and puts a second shaft in the fish, right? It just goes like that, and the guy puts a second shaft in it, and then you guys argue whose fish it is. Your argument whose fish it is as it's in the boat, which is where it should be. All right, so that's scenario number 1. Okay, scenario number 2. You're making a drop. You're at the bottom. You're cruising along. You're like, yeah, I need to head up to the surface, right? Now you start heading up, right? 2, 3, 4 kicks off the bottom, and then you see the mutton snapper. But you're already 15, 20 foot off the bottom, right? Yeah, there's nothing you can do, right? So you go up to the surface, right? So now, scenario number 1, you're by yourself. What are you gonna do, right? And notice the fish that I said. I said mutton snapper. Right? I didn't say hogfish, right? If I said hogfish, you can get to the surface, right? You can swim back to the boat, have a sandwich, come back in, and then get your hogfish. Right? It's going to be sitting there, right? I didn't say hogfish. I said mutton snapper, right? So if you know anything about mutton snapper, definitely a tricky fish to shoot, definitely tricky to approach, right? So the idea is if you just saw that mutton snapper and you're by yourself and you're at the surface, you might think, crap, I want to get back down there and get on that mutton before it leaves the area, right? And so you might end up having, rushing yourself, be the same situation before, right? Now you're hyperventilating and now you're going to try to go back down as quick as possible. Now, those things are going to reduce your bottom time, right? And mutton snapper, you can't be rushed. Like if you get down there, you don't have much bottom time sprinting at it with your gun out and trying to pull the trigger. That's not the way you're going to do it. You need to be calm. You need to maybe try to draw the fish to you, right? And all of that requires bottom time and being relaxed. But because you're rushing, there's a likelihood that you're not going to get those things, right? So imagine this. You're heading up and you see the mutton snapper. But now you're not by yourself. You're in a 3-person team. Now you hit the surface and you say, hey, you see where that coral head was? There's a mutton snapper down there. Johnny, go get it. Who's more likely to put that mutton snapper in the boat? You by yourself, rushing yourself and being hyperventilating and having a less bottom time? Or Johnny, who's fresh and ready to go and sees what you're talking about, right? Because now you're sharing information and you're communicating, right? Well, again, I've never had a student say anything other than, well, the more likely that fish ended up in the boat if Johnny was there, right? He was fresh and saw it happen, right? Of course. But see, this is a complete change in mentality because this means Johnny gets the fish, not you. So you have to, this is different because you're saying, hey, Johnny, go get it, right? Instead of me, I'm going to get it, right? But if you're hunting in a 3-person team, when you get back to the dock, you fillet the fish and everyone gets fish, right? Because you're sharing the fish, right? I had one student who was like, but Ted, you're a damn communist. No, not share the fish. Okay, so look, do it however you want. I know, they get, a lot of people get very particular about their fish. They put it in the cooler and they're putting marks on it. This is my 18-inch mutton. Yours is the 17-inch one. I don't want your shitty one. And they, very particular about what. And that's totally fine, right? But I'm saying if you were to look at it as what the team can do, the team can do better. The team can do better if you're in a 3-person team than 3 people fighting against each other to see who can shoot the biggest fish. Right? Jeremy Gamble, owner of Spearfish Magazine, is one of the things he told me. He goes, after I took your course and we started diving in 3-person teams, he's like, it was obvious to me when we were as a unit, we got more fish in the boat than when we fought against each other. Right? And not to mention just more fun because you do everything together, right? Everyone sees everything that's happening, right? And now everyone's videoing it, and you get to see your buddy miss the shots, right? But the idea is it's you're gonna get more fish. It's more fun, and it's safer. But don't worry about that. Just worry about you get more fish. Right. So another example, another place where spearfishermen are pretty darn good about diving in teams is the Bahamas. Right? And why are they good about diving in teams in the Bahamas? It's not because of blackout, it's because of the sharks, right? Definitely a sharky area. And so the smart guys want lots of people to keep eyeballs on everything, right? Because sharks are in essence ambush predators, and just being able to see where they're at can definitely help things out. So let's say you've got a grouper under a ledge, right? So what the smart guys are doing is, so you're got to go down and you're trying to pull this grouper out of the ledge, right? So your head's up some rock. You don't have any idea what's going on behind you, right? If there's some shark crews in the area, right? So what the smart guys are doing is they send the one guy down to try to pull the fish out, and the second guy goes down and just plays defense, right? He's there, so the other guy's behind him trying to get the grouper out, and he's this way just fending off anything that comes around, right? So in that way they do, they can be good about teams, and I don't whatever it takes to make them do it. The protection against sharks is helpful, and then not to mention the whole idea of the blackout. So same kind of situation I want to ask you. You're by yourself. You shoot the grouper goes up under the ledge, right? And now you're by yourself. You've probably been in the situation. Now you're going to you want to get back down there as fast as you can to pull that grouper out, right? Because you want to get it out as fast as you can because, number one, you're worried that it's going to get out, or it's going to go out the back door and you're not going to see it, or a shark's going to come get it. Right, so if you're by yourself, you're once again at the surface, hyperventilating, trying to get down there, and you're trying to work this thing out, and you're like, crap, I can't get it. And then you come up to the surface, whew, now you're winded and you really got to get down there again as fast as possible. So you're hyperventilating, but you're tired. And when you get down there, every time you get down there, you get less and less time to work that fish out, right? So every time it gets harder and harder and harder and harder, right? Or you had a 3-person team and they saw what happened, right? So now, as soon as first off, you've got eyes up there. So if the thing goes out the back door, they see it, right? Because they got 2 other people up there, right? But if that doesn't happen, that, you can send Johnny down, right? And he's fresh, right? He's not going to be winded. And then you've got 3 people. So you're constantly rotating through. Each one is going to be fresh and you're going to be able to, you're not going to have these gaps in between where you're working on that fish. So it just makes it much more likely that you're going to get that fish out and it's going to be easier to get it out, right? So those are 3 ways where hunting in teams is going to put more fish in the cooler, right? So like I always tell my students, you're going to put more fish in the cooler hunting in teams and fighting against each other. You get this little insignificant bonus of not dying, but don't worry about that because I know no one cares about not dying because it's not cool. So just focus on the fact that you can get more fish. Now, how you do that 3-person team, I mean, it's pretty simple, right? One person's going to make a drop. One person's the safety on the surface, right? So the safety on the surface is to take care of this guy, right? So when this person surfaces, that safety is close enough to grab, watching for no less than 30 seconds. The 3rd person, that person's job is either put a second shaft in the fish. He's the, seeing what's going on from a spearfishing standpoint. And as soon as that person comes up, as long as he's good, he immediately is going to go back down, right? And so by doing it in this way, you have constant coverage on the bottom. You always have someone on the bottom. You don't have any gaps in coverage, right? So it works out really, really, really well. So I've got a video of CJ and another student, Austin Powell, that they made showing this in action. So bear with me. Let me see if I can pull this thing up so you guys can see what it looks like. Love this video. All right, so they've got the fish is rocked up, and now they're taking turns trying to get it out. So you see he's going down there trying to work it out, so they're just kind of rotating through, trying to get this guy out. Now, he's got the fish, but he's asking for help, right? So, boom, that guy takes the fish away. He's not kicking anymore to conserve energy because he knows he's not doing so well. Little bit of a loss of motor control there, but he's got the team there to take care of him. So I want to go back to one part here. And this is awesome because I don't know if it's going to. All right, I'm not going to mess with it. So because they were in teams, no one could see the video? Huh. Let me see. Okay, give me a sec. Let me try that again. All right. Oh, that's right. When I full screen it, it doesn't work for some reason. Okay. All right, so we're just going to watch it like this. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks for letting me know in the comments. All right, so they've shot the fish, and it's rocked up. So they're now taking turns trying to get this thing out. All right, so you can see he's asking for help. So the one guy takes the fish away. Then they start providing propulsion assistance. He's not kicking his feet because he's just letting his buddies do the work because he knows he's not doing well. Darn it, I put the audio off. But anyway, they when he hits the surface, they're telling him to. Let's see if you can. They're telling them to breathe. He's telling them how they're okay. All right. Hopefully that worked. All right. So, a couple things I really like about that video is when they were down there, there's one scene where like literally one guy's down there working the fish out, and there's already another guy, and so as soon as that guy leaves, the other guy is right there trying to work it out. So there's no time in between. So that's basically like just doubling your bottom time by working the fish out. The other thing I really liked is on the way up, he asked for help. And I know CJ says they do this is that when the safety's down there, they just hand the fish off to the fresh guy. Right? Because why make the other guy do all the work, especially in a situation like this where something's wrong, right? And he's asking for help. So he hands the fish off to one guy, then another guy comes, grabs him, and then the diver has wherewithal enough to quit kicking his feet and let them do the work to conserve his oxygen so he's less likely to have a blackout. Then they're at the surface, right? They're there, three guys like right on top of the guy, holding him airway out of the water. They're telling him to breathe. He has a little bit of loss of motor control, and then he's all good to go, right? So that is, picture perfect is safe freediving, right? They got the grouper out, right? And then the guy had a hypoxic issue and they took care of it, right? And it was all pretty darn simple. And so, people always say, well, you can't hunt in teams and this, that, and the other. And I don't. You might not want to hunt in teams and your buddies might not hunt in teams, but that doesn't mean you can't. I know so many of my students that are so adamant about hunting in 2 and 3 person teams, and they do so well with it. So I just, this idea that you can't is, I think a lot of people will say they can't. That just means they don't want to, which is different than can't, in my opinion. All right. So I'm going to go look. So if you guys have questions, I'm going to put those in the comments. I do have one person already asked me a question, submitted it online. So I'm going to take a quick look through the comments. Bear with me. Okay, let's see. Two folks from Connecticut. Nice work, Timmy, getting 15 meters in your FI level 1. Out of curiosity, Timmy, where did you do the course and who was your instructor? Yeah, Bill, in California, it makes it more difficult when the biz is like that. So I want to go over, so Bill had some questions about visibility, right? So California's tricky, right? Because you've got bad visibility. So when you dive, when I have people that dive an area has bad visibility, so they'll say things like, all right, Ted, like, all of the safety stuff you're talking about implies that, you have to watch your buddy, right? And where, maybe in fantasy land where you live, when you can actually see things when you go diving, like where I dive, I got guys that come up and, I got a ton of people that come from New York and they're diving in Block Island and they're diving in 40, 50 foot of water with 10 foot of viz, like totally regularly, right? So this idea of watch your buddy is bunk. Like you can't see nothing, right? The guy just goes down and so you can't see anything. So everything you're saying, it doesn't work. So certainly, if you're in an environment where the visibility is bad, or what I say is diving out of visibility, meaning when your buddy leaves the surface and goes on a dive and then you can't see them anymore, that makes safety quite difficult, right? Because you can't see them, right? So you have a couple of options. One of the better options is put a float line on the gun. There are a wide variety of reasons why spearfishermen put float lines on their gun, but I would tell you that one reason that I really like is from a safety standpoint, right? You make a drop with that, you're diving in 40 foot of water and you got, and you got 10 foot of viz, that diver disappears when you're the safety on the surface. But if there's a float line on, there's a red ball and you just follow the red ball, right? And so at least when that guy surfaces, he's going to be near that red ball. Now, of course, in theory, he could come up, far damn away from that ball, in essence, as far as the line is, but that's really not going to happen. And secondly, if you're diving the float line, if you just come up, right, if you just see where the line is, you just kind of angle where the line is, you're going to come up right near that ball anyway, right? So it's better than nothing, gives you an idea, right? So then I get guys in California say, all right, Ted, well, yeah, maybe using a float line is great, but I live in California and there's kelp, and so we can't use a float line because it's going to be a tangled mess, so the only thing you can do is just dive by yourself. Using a float line in the kelp it makes it difficult, right? Because now you got entanglement issues, right? So my good friend Garo from Gannett Dive Co. company has a specific float line. It's called a snake float, which is basically the only purpose of it is is so that you can put it on your gun. You don't put a float on. It's got a little bit of flotation, but it's designed so that you can run through the kelp with it, and the line's going to trail behind it. It's not going to get snagged on anything, but the very tip of it floats, so that if you've got a buddy in there, they can see that. So even in the kelp, even if the viz is bad, there's something that you can do to make it more visible so you can see them. Some other tips for if you're in bad visibility, like California or all these other places, is you can put tape on the fin pocket, on the actual back of the blade. You can put you can use white, you can use yellow, neon colors. You can make the weights that color as well, so that now when you're down like this, the weights pop. Basically, you're just trying to make yourself pop, right? And if the viz is terrible, that's not going to be enough, but definitely sometimes the viz isn't that bad. Just making yourself more visible by putting that tape on your snorkel, but making the weight belt a neon color, the weights neon, or putting that marking on the fins. Sometimes just that is enough to make the safeties be able to see you. But if the safeties can't see you, a float line is a good option to making yourself more visible so that your buddies can see you. And then if you're in the kelp in California and you got bad viz and you can't use a typical float line, you can go Gannett Dive Company and the snake float. So that's an option as well. All right, so thank you, Stephen. I've now remembered that when it goes full screen mode, I can't show video. I forgot that. All right. Rhode Island, got a lot of folks. Okay, excellent. Very cool, Timmy. All right, so one of the questions that I got online from my submission form was, I don't know if he's watching. Hopefully he is, or hopefully he wouldn't ask the question. He asked, after the 28-day transformation, what would be a maintenance routine not to lose what was gained? So I have and it is absolutely my favorite program that I have. It's called my 28-day Freediving Transformation program. So basically it's a workout plan for freediving that you can do at home. And that's the key thing, at home, right? If you're lucky enough to go freediving in the ocean 5-7 days a week, you do not need this program, right? Most people are very limited by the amount of time they get in the ocean, right? And if you've ever been on a freediving spearfishing trip, you probably can relate to this, right? Most people don't dive all the time, right? They go on trips. So they haven't been diving in a while. They get in the water. The first day sucks. The second day sucks. The third day, it starts to come back. The fourth day, they're rocking and rolling. And they go home. And then a month or two later, they come back out, and they're always repeating this process, right? It sucks, okay, and then it's really good, right? And a lot of that has to do with this idea of the mammalian dive reflex. So this program is a series of, it's the 5 most effective dry land training exercises you can do at home. Don't need to go to the pool, don't need to go to the ocean. But the idea is, most of my customers are spearfishermen, so I'm trying to say, look, Dive like a spear fisherman, but train like a competitive free diver, right? Because competitive free divers, we can dive stupid deep, right? We can dive stupid deep. We can stay at a really long time, and you should be very interested in how we do that, right? And the reason competitive free divers can do what we can do, the reason I can dive, my deepest dive is 279 feet, my longest breath hold is 7 minutes, is because I've done specific training for it. And the average free diver, spear fisherman, they don't do any specific training. If I ask a spearfisherman, what do you do to get better? They say, I go spearfishing whenever I can, which is not the same as training, right? That's just going diving, right? So the 28-day program has got 5 of the most effective dry land training exercises that I'm aware of, especially time efficient as well. Time efficient. So it's 28 days. You're going to do about 2 hours. It takes about 2 hours worth a week. You're going to do three breath holding exercises a week. 2 of them you're going to hate. One of them is an exercise that I came up with that I have a lot of the students say they really love it, and it's the one that I came up with is actually easy, and that's the one that I've had multiple students explain to me that allows them to delay and minimize their contractions, right? And that's a huge thing to get understanding of what's going on with the contractions. So it's 3 breath holds a week. They each take about 30-45 minutes. And then 2 days a week, I just need to do 5 minutes of stretches. So basically it goes down to 2 hours a week, and you do that for 28 days, stack that together, and that is going to radically transform your freediving physiology and make you better situated to perform as a freediver by strengthening your mammalian dive reflex plus a host of other benefits. So the question was, after we do the 28-day transformation, what would be a maintenance routine not to lose what was gained? So whoever asked that question, I would say number 1, just repeat, just stay on that cycle, right? And if you want to, if you just keep at it, you're going to only keep getting better. What I will tell you is I am working on basically the next 28 days, right? So in my head, I already have it all worked out. I just haven't filmed it because I'm so busy. But I have a whole nother set of workouts that are completely different from the first ones that eventually I think are going to be perfect for people who have already gone through the 28-day one. I would not recommend this. In fact, you only will be able to purchase it if you've gone through the first one. It doesn't make any sense to start the second one. So at some point, I'm going to have a whole nother set of 28-day workouts for the people that have gone through the first one. So in the meantime, repeat it. Do it again, right? If you want to maybe slack off on some of the time, that's fine. But I definitely, that first 28-day one, you want to go through it as prescribed so you get the dive reflex going like it is. All right, so I see some... All right, so I'm going to be wrapping this thing up. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I won't be doing it tomorrow. I've got plans tomorrow evening, but I will be back Wednesday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will be back on Wednesday. If you guys enjoyed the show, and also for the 28-day program, I'm going to put a link up, but once I finish the show, I'll put the links to everything. So if you want to take a look at it, I'll show you where you can go check out that. And the 28-day program is it's $95, right? You get access to the 28-day program. You also get access to the Breath Hold Secret program. Is included in that. You get access to a private Facebook group where you can ask me questions. You can also get access to an interview with Jeremy Gamble on how he implements everything from he took my course, how he implements the freediving safety in order my course for spearfishing. Snooze, you lose, Red. Timothy? So someone asked a question, how can I tell if I'm overweighted if I'm not diving deeper than 10 meters? I wouldn't. The depth of your diving really, I'm not concerned about. Here's the main thing that you want to understand. Unfortunately, many freediver and spearfishermen, if they were to black out, they sink down to the bottom of the ocean because they are overweighted, right? Hopefully, you took a freediving course. Hopefully, anyone can understand that's a bad thing, right? If you black out and you sink down to the bottom of the ocean, right? So you want to make it so you want to wait so that doesn't happen. And I don't care if you're diving to 2 feet or 500 feet. You don't want to be in a situation where if you black out, you're going to sink down to the bottom of the ocean. So the way that you do that is you jump in the water Every free diver, every spearfisherman will do this every time they jump in the water, because there's always, you're changing wetsuits, you have different tops and all this sort of stuff. And maybe you got fat, or maybe you lost a bunch of weight, or whatever, but all that stuff's changing, right? So the idea is, Timmy, you jump in the water, you take a big breath in, and then you do a relaxed exhalation like a sigh. And you don't move your feet, and you don't move your hands. I always say that backwards. Don't move your hands, don't move your feet. And because when you do a relaxed exhalation, that is exactly how much air you would let out if you were to have a blackout. Okay, so by doing that relaxed exhalation at the surface, you're in essence seeing what would happen if you have a blackout. So if you do that test and you're going blah, 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 blah down to the bottom, that's you saying, hey, if I were to black out, I would end up at the bottom of the ocean with all the cool kids, and that's you. Hopefully you don't want that, right? So that's what I call failing the surface safety test. So then you got to take off a pound and do it again, right? When you're at the surface, if you do a relaxed exhalation, like a sigh, you do not want to continuously sink. If you continuously sink, that means that's where you end up on the bottom, and that's no good. You want to make it so that when you do a relaxed exhalation, you don't continuously sink. And I don't care how deep you're diving, you don't ever want to sink when you do that test. Okay, I think I said that like 10 times. All right, so I think I'm going to go back to wrapping this thing up. So if you guys enjoyed the video, the best thing you can do is share the video. And if you're going to share it, like for instance, if you're on Facebook, you hit the share button. Don't get me wrong, that's awesome. But what that's going to do is that's going to put my face, blah blah blah, talking, and it's going to go on the on Facebook, and people are going to be like, who the hell is this guy talking, right? So if you do enjoy the show and you take some value out of it, when you share it, tell your friends why they should watch this show, right? Because they don't know me, they know you. And if you tell them this guy, me, is worth watching, then they're going to watch it, right? But if it's just me going, blah, 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 they're like, who the hell is this guy? And they're probably not going to care. So all it asks is, if you enjoy the show, single best thing you can do is share it. And then if you can let them know when you share it why they should watch the show, single best thing you can do to support the show. So I'll be back Wednesday. If you haven't, make sure you hit the like button so Facebook knows that this is good. And they will show it to more people. And I will see you Wednesday, off tomorrow. And it'll be Wednesday, 7 p.m. as always. All right, see you guys. Dive safe out there. It's not even that hard, especially when you can go to freedivingsafety.com and learn how to not kill yourself for free.